Welcome to Strategy and Tragedy, the top show for entrepreneurs. If this is your first time joining, then a very, very warm welcome. My name is Stephanie Melodia, the host of the show, and I'm so genuinely pleased to have you here. If you are tuning back in, then a very warm welcome. This is the show for you. If you are thinking of taking that leap into entrepreneurship, if you're a first-time founder or scaling up your business, the reason why is because I am so proud to say that this show features the best of the best when it comes to my entrepreneurial guests. And today's is, of course, absolutely no exception. My guests share the realities, the highs, the lows, the strategies and tragedies of their business stories to help you shortcut your path to success. So a very big warm welcome. And before we get this show on the road, please, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe and follow button. Doesn't cost a thing, takes 2 seconds, and it really, really helps us out. Okay. So let me welcome my guest today. We have Farah Kabir, is the CEO and co-founder of HANX, which you might know as the first condom brand marketed to women. They have since evolved and expanded their products range to encompass a variety of sexual wellness and weight management products. Ultimately, HANX is connecting the major life stages of women's health for a 100,000 strong community with gyno-designed sexual and reproductive health products. Now available in retailers such as Sainsbury's, Tesco and Boots. Farah, welcome to Strategy and Tragedy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So let's rewind the clocks to 2017. I read that you and your co-founder quit your jobs and you put your life savings into this business. So first of all, pat on the back for the balls for doing that. What gave you the conviction to quit the day job and put your life savings into HANX?
Yeah, I mean, a healthy dose of naivety.
Oh, that always helps.
Go a long way.
Ignorance is bliss.
We essentially spotted a gap in the market. So sexual health products that were currently available were garishly packaged, promoting a man's conquest, with products like Johnny Big Boy and Bright Gold and Red. And equally, as a woman, you're baffled by the choice. And it was around 2017 we found that dating apps were kicking off, and actually there was such a need for sexual health products that women could actually control and carry.
Was this around the same time with Bumble? You just mentioned the dating apps,
yes.
And that's very kind of feminist and empowering as well, right? Female founder too.
Yeah.
So was that part of that wave?
Exactly. But the irony is, a lot of people think that it's a man's job to carry condoms, or women didn't feel empowered to do that. But with the rise of dating apps such as Bumble, where women are put first, we kind of had to follow that as well. And we found that the products on the market were just not speaking to women in mind.
Yeah.
And actually, when we did the research, over 40% of purchases of condoms in the UK made by women, but yet they've never been addressed.
Right. Was there a specific catalyst? Was there like a moment where you were maybe in Boots looking at the shelves to spark it before then doing your research?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I bumped into my boss when I was buying Johnny's on my lunch break. I was in Boots on my lunch break when I was working in finance, and I popped out to do the usual, picking up whatever I needed for the week, including a Boots meal deal, makeup wipes, whatever else, and condoms as well. And at the time, I couldn't use hormonal birth control because the side effects just weren't working for me. So condoms were the only real option at the time, but the options out there were not great. I spotted my boss in the queue. I was absolutely mortified. I was hoping he hadn't seen this bright red pack in my hand. And I was also thinking, does he think I'm promiscuous? What am I getting up to on my lunch break? Does he think I'm getting up to hanky-panky? And I was explaining this awkward bump in to my friend Sarah. And at the time, she was working in gynae clinics, in sexual health clinics, and she was seeing a rise of women coming into clinics with hard-to-treat irritations from the products they were using, or not carrying condoms and having STIs. And we kind of had that brainwave moment then. There's a huge opportunity here, yet no one's tackled this in the UK or across Europe. And we love a good challenge. And when we did more research and digging, we found that there were a couple of great challenger players in the US, but no one quite here in Europe. And so before we quit our day jobs, we did some research and we calculated if there's a real market out there. So we surveyed over 2,000 women, so friends, network, anyone that we could send our survey monkey to find out exactly what women would want in a condom product. So what's stopping them from buying products? If they were to buy them, what would they look, feel like? Where would you buy them? And the output was HANX. So products that are gynae-backed, kind to the body and kind to the planet.
Amazing. So let me just ask at this point in the story as well, these early days, did you want to be an entrepreneur? Or was this very much kind of an organic observation, gap in the market?
Yeah, the latter.
Amazing.
I come from a family of entrepreneurs, but I was always quite happy being at another firm or making mistakes at someone else's firm. So there was never a true desire to look for a business idea and go into entrepreneurship. So it was quite organic.
But so ironically, it's actually, I was kind of half hoping that you would ask that way, because ironically, I think it sets you up to be a better entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because I know so many entrepreneurs, I lecture MBA students in entrepreneurship who want to start their businesses and all the rest of it. And I know so many people who are still sucked into the allure of entrepreneur. They want to be an entrepreneur, and they're kind of like going in search of either a problem to solve, or much worse, they've got their own idea and they're trying to force it to happen. So it's really interesting that you didn't have that entrepreneurial itch. You genuinely recognized a gap in the market. And this is super refreshing to hear, because it's very rare to also hear about an entrepreneur who's done the research before launching.
Yeah.
Again, even with this MBA program, these are the things we talk about. Do your research, validate it.
Yeah.
And it's rare for that to actually happen in the real world, but you did it.
Well,
so how did you know to do that?
Well, it was such a big risk to take, to leave. You know, I was at Goldman Sachs. Sarah was a gynae doctor. So, you know, quite big careers to go from banking to condoms. And so it's quite a risky industry as well. So we really had to understand what the market looked like and why no one had done this before. And the piece that kept overriding was, this is such a great challenge. It really gave me this fire in my belly to go up against the big dogs and actually build a market that's been so stale. So, yeah, I mean, I think my experience in finance and working for someone else was super beneficial for this.
So what did you take? That was another question, actually. So what did you take from your career in finance that helped you in your entrepreneurial journey?
So many things. I mean, firstly, interacting with customers, retailers, suppliers, etc. Those are the same skill sets that, you know, you can bring across from working in corporate. I'm an Excel monkey. I love a good Excel spreadsheet. And my previous role definitely taught me how to work an Excel spreadsheet. And that's super important when you're building the business, when you're fundraising. You need to know your numbers inside out.
And I imagine, obviously, you and Sarah must be so complementary,
Yeah.
yin and yang co-founding team. Quick one, so sorry to interrupt. I'm sure that you are on the edge of your seat listening to this interview. At least I hope so. I'm so aware of all the other podcasts that are already out there. So the fact that you've decided to tune in and listen to this one is not lost on me. If you can just go that one step further and hit that follow or subscribe button, doesn't cost a thing, it takes 2 seconds. Now is your chance to do that. It means so much. Really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the interview. So you've found a gap in the market. You've done your research. You've got this amazing co-founder here as well. Did you require, well, you put your life savings in first, right? So you didn't need to go out and get funding initially.
Yeah, well, we tried to get funding with the idea. And it was quite difficult to do that with just an idea. And the overwhelming response was that we need to see a physical product and we need to see this come to life.
What year was this at the start?
This was
when things were good. Let's get it now.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, it is an industry that wasn't tapped into at the time. So people really wanted to see what the physical product looks like. And I think on reflection, a lot of investors want to see that you've got skin in the game, that, you know, you're not just raising money off an idea, that you were also committed to it. So that's why Sarah and I did that, and we supported the first product launch and got that to market.
Amazing.
And it made it a bit easier for us to go out and get retailers and also speak to investors because we had something physical and tangible for them to look.
Yeah, makes a difference, doesn't it? So what were your first steps in launching? I presume you got to find a factory, manufacture. What were your minimum order quantities? Did you line up retailers?
It was a little bit of everything, to be honest. I think the key part for us was our initial feedback. Customers, 2,000 people that we surveyed. That was great for us because it kind of gave us a starting point for exactly what we wanted our branding to be, feel, tone of voice. It helped us understand what we wanted our products to look like. And most importantly, we could then go to manufacturer and say, we want all of these components. You know, we want spermicide free, we want vegan where possible, yada, yada, yada. Can you do that? The reality is it was incredibly difficult to find a manufacturer that would take us seriously because we were just two little girls in their eyes.
Exactly.
But we did eventually settle on a manufacturer who believed in our vision and mission and were willing to sort of take a punt on us as well. So it was a great partnership. And that's how we were able to get the first round.
Yeah, amazing. Congratulations. And so let's sort of recap some of the highest highs and lowest lows in the HANX journey because of the really obvious thing. I mean, even you saying like starting out, even with this idea, let alone not having the physical product and the traction, but this is really new. And there's such a funny paradox in the world of venture capital where they're still investors at the end of the day. So there is only so much like risk that they're able to take despite, the term of like venture and backing like exciting new ideas. So let's touch on that first of all. We're definitely going to talk about fundraising, and especially as two female co-founders, yourself as a BAME co-founder as well. I know that you've spoken quite openly about that in the past. I know you've got lots of great stories there. But entering into such a regulated market, I imagine it was much harder than you expected. What were some of the biggest challenges now that you've kind of launched and getting it across the line? And how did you overcome those?
I mean, there were so many challenges. Yeah. The reality, it's one thing having an idea and it's another thing bringing it to life. Yeah. And it requires having a trusted network and a community of supporters. So I would speak about our idea to anyone that would listen to us. Amazing. I would go to as many events as possible and network and find the right people. You don't know who the right people are, right? Until you get in the room, tell people about your idea, and they may say, oh, this is great. I used to work in X and maybe I can help with Y, or I know someone that's interested in this space. So
you just never know. That
definitely helped. But the reality is Sarah and I had to get stuck in on anything and everything in the business. And I think one thing I've realised is I was super impatient when we launched HANX. Yeah. I think going from an investment banking career to launching your own business and working with different types of people, such as creatives, you can't rush certain processes. And I was super impatient. I wanted everything done yesterday. Yeah.
Which I don't think is a bad thing, especially as a co-founder. Like, you need to create a sense of urgency, right? You need to like get stoke the fire, get things going, and like just that speed of momentum as well. This is one of the greatest strengths that startups have. You can move quicker, you can do things. So don't do yourself a disservice on that one, Farah.
Thank you. The team might say otherwise. I usually play bad cop and give deadlines that are usually a couple of days before they need to be.
Get it done, keep moving. So you got to just get stuck in. Like the counterpoint to that is if you're sort of attending events and networking and everything, the counterside to that is, of course, like avoiding burnout in the process. I did the same starting my last bit. It was just like saying yes, because exactly you don't know. You're just kind of putting it out there. Yeah. But, okay, you're excited initially, so that energy definitely carries you. But did any of those sort of like more personal struggles come up for you in terms of just managing your own energies and avoiding burnout?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm still struggling to find the balance. It's really hard and people make it look very easy. And I wish people would be a bit more open about it. I love being a founder and I thrive off the energy of building something that's exciting and mission driven and people can resonate with. But the downside to that is all my energy is spent doing that by the time I get home, I'm so exhausted that I don't want to look at anyone talk to anyone.
That makes perfect sense. I get it.
So I think being a founder is really tricky, having that life balance with work. But at the same time, HANX is part of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't change it. I live and breathe the brand. But I think I would like to try and find more balance. And I don't know the answer to that other than probably being a bit more regimented with my time and how much I do.
It's actually a really interesting topic to dive into a bit more because I feel like the consensus is like, balance, got to take care of yourself. But I don't know, I'm also kind of like, there is an argument for like, if this is what excites you, what lights you up, you're on a mission, you got like, I don't know, I'm like, why lean into it? It's not negative. I feel like there's such a, like burnout's been such a trendy word over the past few years. Like, it doesn't need to mean if you love it and it's positive.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But when you see physical and mental side effects that you're ignoring, then the very exciting part is also having a knock-on impact on you. And I can openly say I have really bad insomnia. And I think that is probably a side effect of being an entrepreneur and working long hours and being very excitable and committed and energetic. I mean, don't get me wrong, working in finance definitely gave me a hint of that. But, I'm mindful that there are triggers for me and certain times where insomnia is bad, I put that down to work-related stress. Sure. But I think all entrepreneurs face some parts of that, whether it's insomnia or otherwise. So I think it's important to recognise, yes, you can totally enjoy and love what you do and thrive from that. But if you're seeing physical side
your
effects,
body still needs
then your body needs taken care of. Yeah. And so, you know, the little downtime that I do get, people know I absolutely love a good spa.
No,
that sounds bougie, but I am a spa aficionado, and that's my way of kind of switching off, just finding a good spa, zoning out, a good book, just...
Are any of your products in the spas?
Not yet. Well, a couple of hotels. So we are in Estelle Manor, and I've been dying to try out their spa. So I need to get there.
Perfect excuse. R&D business trip.
Great shout. Due diligence. That's what. Surely going to the spa is actually a business expense.
Look, you're taking care of yourself as the company's greatest asset. That was actually a really interesting reframe. I want to show the listeners as well with my last business, especially as like women. I know it's such a trope, but like there's this reframe of thinking of yourself as the company's greatest asset, and almost having a little bit of that disconnection, that disassociation. Like if your job were to look after the company's most important, or one of the most important, like assets, how would you structure their diary? How would you meal prep for them?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and suddenly you're kind of like, how would I take care of somebody else?
Gosh, yeah, that's a really good point.
And it's just this kind of, and then it doesn't feel like as, I don't know, selfish or not putting yourself to the bottom of the pile, because it is a business priority, almost like seeing it from that perspective. So going to the spa is looking after the company's greatest asset, plus you're doing your due diligence along the way.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you doing at the moment then? You said you're still figuring it out. So we've got spa breaks, anything else, like self-care tips?
It's mainly trying to find time. So small breaks, spending time with people that I love. I have a lot of friends overseas, so I use that as an opportunity to get away and visit them.
International friend base.
So honestly, just finding things that bring me joy, and that can be as simple as having a day out with friends or going to spa. Or I've gotten into running recently. Nice. I will say I've got the running bug.
Good.
Although I can feel some injuries coming along, and that's the impatient side of me, just not stretching and going straight for it.
Brilliant. All right. So I asked about some of the challenges before. You did say like there have been many. What was one of the biggest and most unexpected challenges, especially in those kind of earlier days?
Just how much censorship there is around this space. Yeah. So, you know, when I launched HANX, I thought, great, we've got the product. It's easy. Let's get it to market and let's talk about it. The reality is there's such censorship around the products. Often people see them as adult-related products. And, you know, even from the perspective of investment, when we try to go for VC investment, a lot of LPs that back VCs have clauses that say we won't invest in things like vice-related products. Now, because we were selling condoms, they're seen as adult, which is vice. So we just didn't expect that actually there was such a stigma attached to building these products.
Especially in the UK, right? These British...
Yeah, well, Brits are prude, so it did make quite... So raising investment was very difficult for us, and that's something we didn't initially realise. And then there's other parts of censorship which, again, we didn't foresee. So a lot of our adverts used to get banned on Meta, on Google. Yeah. Again, like in the early days, as a small team, we'd spend so much time figuring out why. You know, it'd be a standard bot that would say denied, and we would have to pivot and amend creative and change copy and see what sticks. And now we're in a better place because we have about 8 years of learning behind it. But the reality is those things are so tough for a business to really grow and launch themselves.
100%. And Meta Ad Suite is not the easiest to use whatsoever. So on the marketing front, what did you have to default to with getting like Meta ads banned? What were some other channels? Because also you've kind of got constraints, creativity, right? So I'm sure you know Cindy Gallop, for example, where like she leans massively into public speaking, casting, everything, because she can't advertise in the same way. So did you have to try other creative marketing?
Yeah, I mean, we've got an amazing marketing team. Emily, who leads our marketing efforts, is incredible, and everything she does, from like the content to the actual ads and our social media. The reality is we lean in really well to our community. We listen to our community, and there are advocates, there are early adopters and our influencers. So whenever we've had these issues, which I will say I personally in the early days felt a bit shy about talking about such issues. Now I'm much more vocal about it. So I will use things like LinkedIn to talk about such experiences. And often it will be our community that rallies together.
Yeah.
You know, we had a big web platform that we will know very well, beginning with S. They were going to pull our facility to sell our product on our website with, I think, 7 or 14 days notice, which is not very long for a small company to find another web platform and build that. And I put it on LinkedIn, and it had an incredible amount of impressions, the most shared post I've ever done. And it got in front of the CEO of that web hosting platform, who said, email me, and we were able to have a conversation and talk about how difficult it is as a small women's health brand, the censorship around it. So,
which wouldn't have happened without everyone getting rallied up around it.
So I think the community is key here in this.
What was the reason, sorry, just to ask why they wanted to, was it just because of the nature of your product?
Nature of the product.
Wow.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of picking up on is one of the like strongest foundations to have a highly engaged community, having advocates. Like HANX is like a cult brand. And in order for that to happen, you've got to have like this strong mission, this origin story. People have to have like a manifesto that they resonate with. In all, like, I think it's just something that you can't shortcut. You can't kind of leapfrog over that. It sets up everything else. Force it, and it kind of 10x's all of your other kind of efforts around community, social, and everything else. So is there any more you want to expand on in terms of like the mission, the manifesto, like that foundational step for HANX becoming such a cult brand?
Yeah, I mean, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's such a lovely compliment. I think when we launched HANX, we wanted a brand that was real and relatable, a brand that doesn't gloss over the realities of being a modern day woman. And all the products, whether it was within sexual health, intimate wellness, menopause, fertility, they're all very traditional and stale and quite inaccessible. So we always wanted to make it a brand that was relatable, almost like your best mate's big sister, someone a bit cool that knows a bit more that you want to learn from. We don't want to make things clinical or like you're learning about sex ed in school.
That's such a great personification. I love that. Your best friend's big sis. I love that.
And so we always use that as our North Star. Like, how can we make our content and our tone of voice real and relatable? And I think that's definitely helped.
It's so differentiated through, doesn't it?
And I think that's been the North Star for us. And I think then when we launched Sexual Health, we were so surprised at how many people were sliding into our DMs with their personal medical situations. We were very honoured, but equally we couldn't support them because we couldn't, we weren't medically advised to do that. But it got us thinking, wow, if this is a talking for a first product, people are willing and open to talk about this. And the rest of women's health is so fragmented. There's such an opportunity here to connect the milestones of women's health.
So perfect segue into your product expansion. So tell us about that. And again, I have to give you a pat on the back as well for, again, sort of following a genuine market demand again. This is just such a common mistake I just see happen all the time with budding entrepreneurs, first-time founders, where it's like they've got all these ideas and I'm just like, your idea is worthless. Like, the ideas are so overhyped and overvalued. If there isn't a market, if nobody wants this, you have the best idea in the world, but this isn't going to be a business. So this, again, is another proof point. You're like, people are proactively coming to you for these things. Makes sense with Sarah, your co-founder. So talk to us about that expansion from condoms initially into this other range.
We really do follow the customer. We listen to our customers. We find out what they want because they're ultimately our target. There's no point in building a product if you think it's going to be really popular or you like it. You're not necessarily your customer. You need to listen to who your base are and what they actually want. And that's what we've followed throughout. So even when creating our products, we involve our customers with them. We'd have like focus groups where they come in and they try 24 concealed different products, a bit like Big Brother, where they rip out the brand and they trial and see. And what we found is organically these products that we've built over time are due to customer need. So if you think about sexual health, condoms and lubricants, when women were coming off condom subscription, the main reasons were I've broken up with my partner, fair enough, so I don't need them, or I am moving on to long-term hormonal contraceptives, or I'm trying for a child. So great opportunity for us to build in those areas too. And coincidentally, when COVID hit, we asked our consumer base, what do you need right now? And there was an overwhelming response around people not being able to get GP appointments. They were too scared to queue up at the pharmacy to get their repeat prescriptions. So we used that as an opportunity to build an online pharmacy. And in 2021, we launched HANX Fix. So we offer prescription birth control, Plan B, so the morning after pill, vaginal health treatments, all available online on our platform. Again, following the need of the customer, which lent itself really well And then when you move on to the other area of our products, we found that we've got a couple of core audiences here. We've got 25 to 35-year-olds are our core. And actually within that, you have women who are looking at the next stage of their life. Are they planning for a child? Do they want to egg freeze? Fertility is a key area there. So we built supplements that are high grade ingredients, no nasty chemicals, usual HANX, kind to the body, kind to the planet. We launched supplements for pregnancy, and we launched supplements for menopause and for libido. So the second audience were the menopausal audience, so 45 plus, which we organically built because we found a lot of the private gynaes are recommending our lubricant because it's the most natural on the market. Side effect of menopause, dryness, loss of libido, etc. So really building products around our audiences, which has worked really well, which takes on to our final product, which is the weight management. And that was quite controversial, but for us, we found, again, it's about offering our customers choice. And this was a choice that we could make available on our pharmacy platform. Menopausal women can be insulin resistant, susceptible to weight gain. Again, if you're going through your fertility journey, you might be looking to get to a healthy weight. So again, it's really offering HANX as a women's health platform that can serve you at whatever stage of your health.
Exactly. I was just thinking that it makes perfect sense with even how you specifically phrased it with that description I mentioned, in my intro, with like those key life stages for women's, the different, these huge life-changing phases that we go through. We've sort of teased a bit around the fundraising. So I want to pick up on that topic again. You got the business kind of launched, Life Savings. At which point, in terms of traction milestones, did you go out to fundraise? You've already mentioned it was quite a challenge as well. So I just want to double click into that whole piece.
Fundraising felt like a full-time job, to be honest.
It's
throughout.
With two co-founders. Did you split the roles at all?
Yeah, so I did the fundraising.
You led that, being the finance. That makes sense.
Couldn't get away from it, sadly.
But also what's working against you, sorry to cut you, but you've got these strengths in terms of your expertise, but you're also the main founder of the two. And so we know all the stats. We know how difficult it is, unconscious or conscious bias. I want to hear the rest of what you were going to say, but obviously I need to ask you about those other challenges for investors.
Yeah, I'll be really honest, and this isn't me being arrogant, but I thought having experience in a name like Goldman Sachs and being a chartered accountant would make it quite easy for me to fundraise. It's quite the opposite. And I think there's this unholy trinity for us. Not only were we creating products in the sexual health space, which is seen as adult, we were in the consumer sector, which is very difficult to fundraise for. And then I'm also a female founder and a female founder of colour. So we know the British Business Bank stats, less than a penny of every pound of VC investment goes to women. It's even less than a penny for a woman of colour. So, I was really up against it, and it was incredibly challenging in the early days, but eventually we found our core audience actually being our investors. So we were mainly backed by angels, so individuals rather than institutions, and a portion of those are our customers who have actually reached out to us and said, want to be part of your journey, are you looking to raise, etc. And in terms of your question about when did we choose, well, we needed to quite quickly in order to really market the product. So we did raise our first SEIS round early doors, and I wouldn't say it was a rolling close, but every couple of years we would do a small funding round to top up on that.
What were some specific responses from investors that have stuck with you since those early days of fundraising?
So many. In the early days, things like, what do you two little girls know about a male-dominated industry?
Use that terminology.
Yeah. Okay. We'd have, you're two, what do you know? Like, this is a male-dominated industry. Women don't buy condoms. Men buy condoms, don't see a market for this. And some more pretty derogatory stuff.
Does that fuel your fire even more to prove them wrong?
Yeah, I love it. When someone tells me I can't do something... it makes me want to prove them wrong.
100%.
And I think also what it taught me, in the early days, I was quite stuck on trying to convince people otherwise. Now I just cut the cord. If there are behaviours like that, like move on, find someone out. Like, we know who our investors should be. Yeah.
Love that. That's such a great mantra to apply to so many different areas as well. Like, even in like sales, that's been a huge shift for me too. I'm just like, are you interested? Are you into it? No, if there's a bit of that persuasion, then fine, I'm not going to do that. But the amount of time and energy that you can waste on trying to persuade, whether it is investors or customers. So I love that switch for you. We talked about sticking with the fundraise, what kind of lessons can you share from that experience? You said how difficult it was. Any other pearls of wisdom before we do move on that?
Find allies, speak to as many people as you can about this. Try and, there weren't many role models for me in the early days, but now there are more. So I try and find other founders who've been in this space, who have built businesses. Speak to as many people as you can. What's the worst that they'll say? No, I'm too busy to help you. That's fine. Yeah. It's a numbers game, investment. So definitely speaking to as many people, and also it's not a yes until it's signed. So just be mindful. I've had many a times where I've been super excited and I think something is a done deal, and for one reason or another, it's not quite landed where we'd hope. So don't that kind of false security. Just be mindful.
Yeah. It happens more often than you think. Like some of the other guests that I've had on here as well, where they're like, they line up, talent, they want to hire.
Yeah.
Then at the very, very last, the 11th hour, it doesn't come through for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And you've been in months and months of due diligence. It can still, until the money's in the bank.
Totally. And that's the other thing. It takes a very long time. It takes a lot longer than you think.
How long did it take you? And how many rounds have you done?
We've done about 5 rounds, I think.
Do they get easier? They're like kids, right?
They're different
stages.
At different stages, different lengths at different stages.
Exactly.
We've obviously launched a range of products, right? So it's almost like launching a few new mini businesses every time.
Yeah.
So you've really got to prove those out as well.
Right. What have been the key differences between like the 5 rounds, not each 5, but what's, I guess, from the first to the last, what's kind of the biggest differences?
Well, I guess the stage of our business, the tenure.
Does that make it easier?
It can make it easier, but it can make it more difficult. So it can make it easier because you're a recognisable brand, but it can make it harder because they may expect bigger milestones from you, or, there's more historical data. It's really hard to pinpoint what the changes are because every single round we've done, we've had a different element of our business to launch. So, like I said, the pharmacy was a huge piece, and then we've gone into supplements and weight management.
Yeah, pretty different each time. Yeah, makes sense. And just with you saying about, getting out there, it's a numbers game. Are there any specifics you can share in terms of like networks, events? Do you rely on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I early doors would go to as many events as I could. I'd sneak into events that I wasn't allowed into. There was this one Bloomberg event where I knew there were going to be investors and I shouldn't have been there, and I snuck in and said I was an investor.
Nice, I love it.
So really finding out where your potential investors could be. Things as simple as Twitter. Get to know them even if you can't get in front of them. See what their interests are, etc. Yeah. I would definitely encourage joining a co-working community if you can. So we first joined Huckletree when we launched, and they're like a family to us. They're amazing because you're also around people that are like-minded that are also building businesses. Yeah. These co-working events spaces also host events. It's an opportunity for you to meet other people and get into different ecosystems such as the investing landscape.
Yeah.
And I don't always take a no as a no. So you might meet someone who says, it's not really for me, but they might know someone who could be interested in what you're doing. So it is exhausting, but stick at it, and you'll find your community. That's
that optimism as well, isn't it? It's like you never know. Like you might not get that investment from that particular person, but can they introduce you to somebody else? Yeah. Is there some other sort of referral, something you never know? So I love that reminder. And I think also just to mention on the co-working space and surrounding yourself with those people, I think is so important, just to give that a little bit of airtime as well, because especially if you're leaving your corporate job, where you said that you do come from a family of entrepreneurs, which is amazing. But if this is kind of a new world, you want to be surrounding yourself with people whose like your dreams is their normal, and kind of helping to, and it's not this like big scary great. It's like there are other people that are doing this, that are on this path with you, that helps psychologically to kind of feel better about it. Right?
Totally. There'll be people going through the same thing as you. Yeah, that's fundraising or building a new product, and it's important to lean on that. Find people who are in the same ship as you.
Yeah, amazing. So we talked about some of the challenges, fundraising included. What are some kind of highs and like even lessons learned from those as well? Where I always say like the best lessons come from the biggest mistakes, but what are some of your biggest milestones that you start with there? Like what are you proudest of?
Getting the first product to market was so difficult. It's a medical device. Research, getting that over the line was huge. Just to see that first physical product was a huge moment for me. And I think more importantly, seeing the condoms on shelf at Boots, in the very Boots where I bumped into my boss.
Wow.
Was a real pinch. I've got a picture.
Amazing.
I'm sure there's a picture of me with it, and I'm just so in awe. Like, that was the very shelf where this idea
That's correct.
began.
That's amazing, isn't it? I've had so many entrepreneurs. One in particular comes to mind where it's like, just that magic, that excitement. I don't even know the right words to use, like the happiness of like, I thought of something and
here it is. It's come to life.
Especially a physical product.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's really like
amazing.
That was amazing. But equally, the hardship of getting on shelf. So like we've, really had to work hard to get onto the shelf space because no one else had really disrupted that category. And again, a healthy dose of naivety. When we did launch with Boots, we said, yes, we can do everything. The reality is we were packing boxes in the warehouse ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
And trying to figure out how to wrap a pallet for the first time within the dimension.
Say yes and figure it out afterwards. It's like I'm following Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, on Instagram, and she's really up to, I don't know whether it's, again, the algos like something up to me, but she seems to have really upped her game with her content. And the amount of things she's been sharing, a lot of those like early days behind the sines, and how she used to go into the department stores and take her product and go and put them by the cashiers, by the tills, to make them more obvious. Like, real hustle spirit is so cool. Any tips on like getting products into Boots, for example? Like anyone who wants to get their product into a retailer?
Find out who the key decision makers are. Do your LinkedIn stalking. Not only the decision makers, but the ones above them, and really talk and live and breathe about the brand. So we talk a lot about HANX on LinkedIn. That really helps. Get out in front of the right people. Even if it's a no, it's not quite a no. So if they say not right now, still keep them updated on what you're doing as a business. So what are the new products you've launched, etc. Kind of maybe update them quarterly or whenever it falls in line with their next rebuild. Sharing insights that will convince them to put you on shelf. So it's not just about, hey, we're HANX and we've launched this. It's like, we found our shoppers actually love buying in Tesco convenience, giving them an insight that they'll want.
Insights, yeah. How close does selling into retailers compare to selling into investors? Sounds
really good question. Similar, but can be quicker on the retail side. I think once you get the right person that understands the vision, often we were lucky that there were female buyers, so they got it. It can move quite quickly if you can fall in line with the buy-in window.
Nice.
Similar skill set though to investors. You're selling in
exactly because even as you're saying, like keeping them posted, sharing these insights, regular comms, that's quite similar as well with like keeping those investors warm. Hey gang, super quick interruption, but I promise it's worth it. I want to tell you really quickly about One Day. It's an 18-month MBA program, but get this, you literally start and scale your business for real alongside it. I am a mentor on the program. If you've been following this show for a while, then you may have picked up on the fact that I work there as well. That's one of my other jobs, and I absolutely love it. I've been with the business now for 2 years, probably a little bit more by the time you're listening to this, and that's why I can say with utmost conviction, from being on the inside track, how good this program is. So you've got the curriculum, the content, the learnings, the resources, the frameworks that add the structure to the chaos and the mess and give you that much needed direction on how you can move the needle week on week on week and get closer to your entrepreneurial goals. Beyond the actual content and curriculum, you've got one-to-one mentorship. So with myself, for example, and then best of all, I would argue the community. You get access to other entrepreneurs that are on the same journey that you are, because entrepreneurship is tough. And so being surrounded by other people that are on the same journey, who can pick you up when you're down and can also be helpful in terms of sharing other learnings, resources. Honestly, I cannot talk any more highly about this program. I'm going to drop the link in the show notes. Check it out if you're a first-time founder, if you're considering making that leap into entrepreneurship, or maybe if you tried something before and it didn't quite work out, or you realized actually this whole entrepreneurship game is a lot harder than you expected. One Day is the place for you. The frameworks, the guidance, the support, both practically, emotionally, is just second to none. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Now let's get back into the episode. You mentioned like buying window. Is there anything practically that future entrepreneurs need to know? Is there like seasonality or?
Yeah, it depends on the category that your product is in. So it might be quite different for food and drink. It might be more regular, but certainly within wellness, there are usually 2 or 3 buying windows, sometimes 1. So, you can start speaking to a buyer in January, but if their rebuild isn't until September, that's great. You've got time to build that relationship, complete any of the operational stuff. If you're speaking to them in September, you've missed the boat, so you might have to wait another year before you get.
Is that a typical time frame, or are those just?
It depends on the retailer. Often it's there's 2 times in the year when it can be rebuilt, but yeah, it depends on the retailer.
Okay. Amazing. My penultimate question is, especially now as we're talking more about sort of the successes and the highlights, is how have you had to shift your mindset as you've gone from scrappy startup co-founder to now CEO of this cult brand?
It's a good question. I mean, I always feel like I need to get involved in everything and do things scrappily, but I think
it's hard to let go.
It's not hard to let go. I think I just have that lean startup mindset where I think, it might be quicker and cheaper if I do it. But I think what I've learned is actually hiring people who are smarter than me. So everyone on our team are incredibly talented at what they do, way smarter than me. And I couldn't do half the things that they do. And that's been the key shift for me, finding talent that can really help build the brand and help leading them and managing them in the right area.
Any tips in talent attraction and team motivation that you can share as well?
Oh, gosh, so talent attraction, being authentic to what you do. And I think that hopefully that's led quite well, with HANX and our mission and what we want to do.
Right.
So we do get inbounds, which I'm really humbled by. I really love it when people reach out asking if there are roles at HANX. Motivation. I mean, we do have a channel called Good News on. Sorry, this tells you how many coffees I've had or lack of. And it's just amazing news in the week or things that we've achieved.
Nice.
We have, what else do we have? We have Friday check-ins where we do random, I mean, I don't know whether you'd find this funny, but it's basically random mind maps of our favourite things. So for me, it was a mind map of how the Kardashian family are related to the Hadids.
The Hadid, as in like Zaha Hadid?
No, not as in Bella and...
There's a link.
Yeah, so...
you sent me the mind map afterwards.
I shall. Wow. So there's definitely ways that we all bond as a team. And then we do things like outings, etc. But we've got a hybrid... working pattern, so sometimes we meet in person, sometimes we're offline, so it's really important to kind of build that morale, do funny non-work related,
keeping that positivity high. And I think if you've got it right in the first place, like it's almost like the 80-20 Pareto principle comes to mind for me as well. It's kind of like if you get that higher right, which we don't always, and lots of tragedy shared on the show about that, but that's almost 80% of kind of the way there. And then the Good News channel and the Friday mind maps, they're almost that 20% to keep it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to add is being empathetic.
Yeah.
People think often when you're a leader that you have to be serious and you have to be strong and you can't have that emotion. But the reality is, as a team, we're a family. Like, a couple of our team members have been with us for at least 4 years. Some of them we've known since day one. And it's super important to be empathetic. We're all family at the end of the day. If there's something, a personal struggle, we want to be there to support them.
Farah, my traditional closing question on the show, obviously called Strategy and Tragedy, with the idea that, again, the best lessons come from the biggest mistakes. What's one particular tragedy that's taught you an unforgettable lesson?
Yeah. So when I was pitching in the early days, I pitched to an investment consortium, predominantly male. And really sadly, one investor asked me if I could demonstrate how to put on a condom, amongst other jokey, misogynistic things. And I just thought that was, I was the only one pitching at the time. I think I was there were 5 companies. I was the only female founded company. It was awkward, uncomfortable, dreadful. And it was in the early days where it made me think, oh my God, if this is what I've got to face, is it even possible?
Right.
So that was really difficult.
How did you respond to that? Literally in the moment.
Yeah, I said, would you ask your daughter that?
And so good you had that ready to go.
I just think it was so shameful.
Yeah.
Like why, and it was so uncomfortable. But again, like those early days made me realise, again, it gave me the fire in my belly to prove people wrong and to actually find the right investors and to cut the cord. So it was a bit of a tragedy, but it also turned things around for me to realise there are investors out there and it doesn't have to be him or that consultant.
I love it. Absolutely their loss. And you wouldn't want to have people like that in your team, on your cap table anyway. But Farah, I'm so sorry you went through that. So disgusting. But it's also just like, unfortunately, at least before, it has been sort of the price to pay. But how much do you think things are changing? How optimistic do you feel about the
I do.
landscape now?
I do. I think things are changing. We're not quite there in terms of backing female founders. I think there are lots of great reports, but ultimately people need to put their money where their mouth is and actually back female founders. But I think certainly from 2018, the things that I'd heard and seen, I don't anymore, or I haven't in the last few years. So.
And honestly, the reality is that more and more success stories like these here are helping to, you need that evidence. You need you were saying before about like role models, but also what I'm definitely seeing is other women paying it forwards.
Yeah.
And there was a trend of like male allyship before, but really it's just taken from my perspective, it's just taken time for other women, because it does take longer and it's so much harder to rise up those ranks, to make their money, to sell their businesses.
To then have the voice there,
Well, to voice, but also to angel invest and help others along the way. Mentioning even like Bumble before, and now Whitney Wolf Heard, so successful, like paying it forwards, and the list goes on, but they never even existed before. So you're part of that trailblazing group, Farah. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Anything else that you want to kind of leave our listeners with? Any final pearls of wisdom or...
Yeah, if you have an idea, go with your gut instinct, do your research. It's a calculated risk building a business. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not glossy, but it's a lot of fun if you get stuck into something that you truly believe in.
And especially if you've got a co-founder along the way to enjoy the ride with, right? That must make things so much better.
And an amazing team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Farah, thank you so much for coming on Strategy and Tragedy. And thank you so much for listening as well. Really hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, give us a thumbs up. Again, hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to this. Episodes are weekly, so I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. Take care.